All right, so shift bidding is the topic of this video, and what we will do is look at the steps you need to take to enable shift bidding, what to do to send out the invites for the bids, and then how to process them. So quick summary on what is shift bidding. Well, shift bidding is a method you can use to schedule shifts. You can basically create shifts, create a schedule, and then send out those shifts for pickup and do that with a bidding process. Now, off the top, I want to make sure it's clear that shift bidding is designed to be fair for all parties involved. So it comes with the concept of a bidding deadline. So when you're thinking of doing this, you have to come up with a method that would work for your organization where you are sending out bids that invite people for a certain length of time to bid on the shift. And let's just go with, let's say you give everyone 12 hours to make a bid on a shift. Well, you need to let that bidding deadline actually run its course to give everyone a fair chance. It's not a first come, first served basis. If I make the bid, 3 minutes after being notified, I'm just as, I get just the same consideration as the guy who makes the request, 3 hours later. There's no preferences there based on, whoever bid on it first. If you want to go with a first come, first served basis, then you can check out our video on self-scheduling. Okay, so shift bidding, a couple things then we want to make sure we have enabled first. First off, shift bidding should be enabled for your organization, but if you don't see these options, then you can actually reach out to the Celayix support team. Their email is support@celayix.com, and you can get them to enable shift bidding for you. But first thing you want to check is inside your settings here in Schedule Express. Go to shift bidding, you should see this, and you want to make sure this is set to yes. Okay. The next thing you want to make sure that you have set is you want to make sure you have paid attention to what your default shift bidding deadline is. So you can go with a few different options here. A common one that people use is X number of hours after the notification goes out, but this defines how long the bid will be open, whether that's 1 hour, 12 hours, 72 hours, we don't care, just make sure you go with something. The other options include, how many hours before the shift starts, how many days before the shift starts, and then you can actually just set manually a date and time for the deadline. So this is a default. You don't have to always go with this, but you need to have some default set in order for this to work. So just keep that in mind. So that's where you turn it on. Make sure shift bidding is turned on. The second thing before we get involved further in this is make sure that security groups for the employees has it enabled. So go to the settings again, employee, security group. There is a feature in here called shift bidding right here. Okay, this has to be turned on for this to work for the employees as well. If you have this disabled, you can send bids out, but they won't see shift bidding inside their application. I hope that makes sense. All right, so let us actually send out some invites here. So we are going to go look at the schedule. So here's an example of what you can do. You create shifts and you set them up as open. So I've got 6 shifts here for this Thursday coming up that I want to invite people for. Okay, so what I can do is I can select all these shifts, and what I can do is I can go up to the shift tools and I can update all 6 of them, and I can set, let me type in the word bid, I can set shift bidding on these. Now, this is because I'm doing it as a group. I just want to point out that each individual shift has a flag on it. Once shift bidding is enabled, you will see publish for shift bidding. You have to have that set, and then you have to set the deadline. The default goes off the setting I just talked about. Custom means you're going to set it custom for that particular shift. So I'm going to turn it off on this shift for now and disable shift bidding for that shift, okay? So now let's enable all 6 of these at once. So we'll lasso all 6 of these shifts, and we will update all 6, and we will turn on shift bidding for all 6. Once I say publish for shift bidding, I have to set a deadline. Now, for the purposes of this example, let's set it up so that this expires in the next few minutes, because I want to take you through the entire process, but you'll set up some deadline as far as when this shift bid expires. Whether you're going to give them 5 hours or 50 hours, we don't care, but set some deadline up. All right, so I'm going to put in a deadline, and I'm going to click Update, and I'm going to click Save. And you'll probably notice there's a little gavel icon. That just indicates that shift bidding has been enabled for these shifts. So that's the first step. Step 1 is enable shift bidding on the shifts, and you can do this for whichever shifts you want, okay? The only caveat, the shift has to be an open shift like I have here. You can't send a shift that has an employee's name on it, no, for bidding. It has to be an open shift. Okay, so step 1 is out of the way. Now let's go to step 2. Step 2 is selecting, I'm going to select the shifts again, and I'm actually going to go up to Schedule Tools. I'm going to go to Shift Bidding, and I'm going to actually send out invites for that. All right, so let's send out the invites. So these shifts are all grouped in one group because they're all occurring during the same time at the same company. Okay, so they're grouped together. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select this, and I'm going to use an employee search rule. Now the way this works is, again, very customizable, but it's a rule that can be used to set up to sort of find employees that match up with the requirements for these shifts. You may have a special qualification rule in place that says, in order to work for this company, they have to have X qualifications. You may just want to do it based on, maybe you only send it to your full-time employees first. You could have multiple filters here when you're doing your invites. You could send out, different groups of people first, see who they bid on it, and then if you don't get any people bidding on it, then you could send it out to another group later if you want to do it that way. So I just have a very simple one. It's called qualified. So this shows me all qualified people who can work at this particular shift, and I actually have 16 employees that can work this shift. So I'm going to go ahead and invite all 16 of them to this particular bid. If I didn't want to invite someone, like let's say I wanted to take out David, I could just uncheck his name and he would not be sent the invite. Scroll down, scroll down. Now, when do I want to send the notification? I'm going to go with immediate, but you can also set a scheduled time and have these be batched up and sent at a certain time. And then custom note. Custom note. So I'll just say this is a test, but in reality, you may want to type something like, hello team, here are the shift bids, here are my special instructions, whatever those might be, and you can put that out. That'll just be included in their message, and they will be notified of that and be able to read that when they get notified about the bid. So I'm going to click invite. All right, so it says it was successful, great. Now, what actually happens next is that there'll be an invite sent, okay, and it takes a few minutes to go out. But what will happen is that there'll be an email that comes, and here's what it'll look like. It'll say, dear Rebecca, or dear whatever your name is. It'll come like this, and it'll actually send out that this was it'll send some details about your shift, and it'll give you a notification that you have a shift available for bidding, okay? So that's all. So now I've gotten that invite. Now what happens next? Well, what happens next is actually now up to the employees. Your work as the scheduler is done. You can go up here to Schedule Tools and go to Shift Bidding, and you can review the bids that are in progress. There's 6 shifts, so there's no bids so far. So no bids. 0 employees have bid, and 16 employees have not responded. So no responses yet from anyone. So I'm changing gears a little bit, but what I'm doing is I am going to show you Team Xpress, the employees. They go to Shift Bidding, and they can see which shifts they have available to bid, right? I can see some of the details. So I'm logged in as one of the employees. I'm going to go ahead and submit my bid. I'm going to say I want that, and I can check my bid status. I've been submitted. Great. I'm just going to come back over here. Because I'm doing it in real time, I'm just going to click refresh to ensure that I see that this is up to date. So I'm going to go back to Shift Bidding. I'm going to review my bids again, and I can see I have one person bid, and that was Anna who actually made the bid in that case. Okay. So now now what I'm going to do off screen is I'm going to also make a bid on with another employee, the same shift. I'm going to make a bid, but it's going to basically add to my total of people that have bid on the shift. So All right, so I'm signed in as another employee now, and I'll go to schedule. And you can see up here, I have a notification as well telling me I was invited for bidding, so great. That'll also pop up, and of course they will be getting an email, and they can even get an SMS text message as well to notify them about the bid. So there's very little excuse they won't know about it because we send them multiple ways and let them know that the bidding is available. So here's the shift, and I'm going to select, submit, okay, submitted, and again I can see, okay, it's submitted, and now I'm just playing the waiting game. And so as your employees go through this, the other employees, some employees may choose not to bid on it, right? Some employees might bid on it, and that process will go ahead and flow through. So I'm going to go ahead and make one more bid here, just to give you let's refresh our page here again. Bidding in progress, and we have 2 bids, right? Anna and Bridget. And $14 employees did not respond. All right, so I'm going to log in as one more employee, and I'm going to try and do this before the deadline. The deadline's happening very soon. Submit bid. Got it. Okay, just in time. I got the bid and the deadline. Okay, and I may have actually, okay, so now actually it's 3:05, so that's when I set my expiration up. So now what the employees will see is they'll see their bid status in progress is now gone. It's no longer in progress. It's now completed and it has not yet been assigned. So now let's look at what happens on the scheduling side. So let's just take a look at this. Shift bidding, review the bids in progress, and again, there's no more bids in progress. The deadline has passed, okay? So it's now time to assign the bids. This is the last stage of this. So let's assign the bids, and let's look at, now you can either choose all outstanding, or if you wanted to, you can just select certain shifts as well. So if you click on like certain shifts here, you can just select the currently selected. I'm just going to go with all outstanding. Let's have a look. Okay, so here we have 3 employees who made a shift bid. So Anna, Bridget, and Christopher all made bids. And what we can do is we can choose if we want to assign all of them to the shifts, or we can choose just 1 employee or 2 employees or whatever. Now in this scenario, we had 6 shifts and we only had 3 bids. So we would probably just assign all 3 of them, right? But if you can think of the other scenario where maybe you have 1 shift and 3 people bid on it, well, then you need to pick from this list who you want. Now, we can get into the details of how you can decide on who should get it, right? Maybe you want this list sorted alphabetically, which is what I've done. Maybe you'd rather have it sorted by people's seniority or some other factor. Maybe you want to have it sorted by who has the fewest hours for the week. There's other ways to sort this and set this up so that you can pick, but the idea here is that you're choosing someone from the list and you're doing it based on whatever your internal criteria is. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave all 3 selected and click assign. Done. And there was 3 shift bids that could not be assigned, and that is because they were not bid on. The other 3 were assigned. So I still have 3 that are out here that are basically still pending. Technically, they're not here anymore. So that's it. The bidding's been done. I've assigned the bids. And what do the employees see? I'm just going to bring up Team Xpress. I'm just going to go back to here. I'm going to look at the bidding. Bid status completed. Bid is won. If I bid on it and don't get it, it tells you bid lost. Okay, it just tells you the opposite. So the employees will be able to see the status of their bids. Okay. On top of that, there'll be actually a notification email that goes out as well that informs them of what happened with the bid. So there's a couple of different ways for them to see, what happened. And of course, now that I did win this bid for Thursday, let me take a look at my schedule as the employee. Aha, now I'm actually working on Thursday. I have a shift. So further confirmation that I was actually given the bid. All right, and that's all there is to it essentially. Now the bidding's over with. Now that you have leftover shifts here, now you would maybe need to decide on what you want to do with these next. Do you want to assign them manually, or do you have another process, or do you want to send them out for bidding again, but you want to send them to a different group? Well, that's where, and this is one of the things people ask about, is how could I, disable the bidding and just start fresh? Well, it's very easy. You just go ahead and edit let's edit all 3 of these shifts. We will take the bidding away, publish for shift bidding, let's leave it blank, update. Okay, and it's going to warn me, I did actually have bidding enabled. That's okay, I'll just ignore that warning. And I'll save it. And now I've just basically reset myself back to having 3 open shifts. And I can now choose to fill it however I want. If I want to use bidding, follow the same steps we just went through and enable bidding, set some deadline, and then decide on who you want to send the invites to. And that's basically it. All right, so hopefully you found that useful. And this has been the shift bidding video.